Yeah, so I grew up in Germany and I started my career after high school. Made an interesting decision back then. Instead of going to university, I thought I'm going to learn a trade. And I started my apprenticeship as a cabinet maker and a joiner, and which is still kind of, I'm still tapping into that learning from 40 years ago. I was always kind of a very much a hands-on person, so I kind of loved working with stuff. And if you go back to my old school reports, everything which was related to practical experiences, I had pretty good writing there. So that was one thing. My father was an accountant, and obviously you look into uh, very often the kind of slightly opposite development of the following generation. But I did come to Australia from 2012 to 2013 for nearly 2 years before I then fully joined as a consultant,
Yeah.
um, and was kind of helping Lendlease to understand engineer timber. And then subsequently, we established a team within the organization. So, based on my very own experience, kind of with DesignMake and looking into Velocity and looking at all the other companies where investment was well intended. And there's always a fascination around doing something differently, doing something new, using technology. But what kind of the industry hasn't really picked up is the lessons learned of other industries, because suddenly you're no longer building or delivering a building on a project by project basis. You're suddenly in a world of manufacturing a product. It's a different mindset. It's a different approach. So suddenly you're in the middle of manufacturing a product, which then you kind of try to push to the market. And if we look into, we do not want to name kind of companies, but everybody of us is having these little devices called a mobile phone, or in this case, an iPhone. There is intense market research behind that, which means what are the customers' benefits? What is the customer asking for? How can we manufacture a product which really responds to customer needs? And then it's about scalability. In the build environment, we build a building, we sell the building, we go to the next building. And yes, we all understand buildings are heavily contextual. So, which means the plot or the land is always different. It's in a different location. It's a different orientation. It's got a slope, etc., etc. So, a building needs to respond to that, and that's where I would say some of the companies just underestimated the complexity coming with the individual response to context. So the fascination about, oh, we're going to have that all digitized and we've got a seamless process is fascinating. But once it comes down to actually, why individualize or create a building which responds to context, that's where the challenges start. We're still in love with the silver bullets, right? So it's we're going to implement MMC, we're going to modularize everything, and we're going to push product to the market. Even successful products are not products which are pushed to the market. They are products which are pulled from the market. So there's a reason why we all buy these phones, because we like them, they respond to us, they're easy to use, etc. is sure these big companies sending out the right messages and what these products can do. But at the end, it's a consumer decision. And that's that's already a first step to success. So if you kind of try to push a product to the market, you're kind of, already 1 nil behind, because the effort, you create a product and then push it to the market, that effort is significant. It's really, really hard.
Okay, so what happened with DesignMake?
It's a very similar story. Fascinated by technology and the possibilities that technology will offer to you.
Yeah.
Without understanding the market. Everything which has been talked about lately. And one of the reasons, and one of kind of the work I do with multiple parties in that, is actually kind of addressing or changing the narrative slightly. Because if we have been looking into historically, and in this case, I can even relate to my very own experience. Is you establish a factory and you think everything the current industry is doing is so far behind. We are the future. We know better. This is revolutionizing construction, etc., etc. And kind of the work we have been now doing by unpacking a few of these things, it's actually saying a factory is an extension of the existing industry. It's not, we're not going in to replace the current industry, but this having a factory operating allows kind of the market to deliver more. So the focus is on what I described, the delta, and the delta is between what the industry is currently capable of delivering. And if we look into number of units Australia is capable of delivering every year, and units is single family houses, townhouses, apartments, etc. I think we talk about roughly about 150 to 180,000 units per year. So this is the status quo. If we look into the government's program and where the need is sitting more likely somewhere around the 200 and 250,000 units. So the delta between 250 and 180,000 is 70,000 units. This is where suddenly a manufacturer could play actually an important role, because the current industry faces material constraints, faces labor constraints, etc. So you name more. They can't do more. And the process to increase productivity and kind of drive efficiency is intense. So which means everybody needs to be up for it. And it would require a lot of buy-in from all stakeholders. So that's a slow process, so we're not getting there in a short period of time. So factories can tap into that delta, increase capacity to the market, and then step by step deliver actually a much more competitive product. At the same time, I think factories are still valid in terms of reducing the labor aspect, controlling material input. And for me, there is still kind of very often we talk about productivity and efficiency, and in that whole conversation, for me, is one crucial element. It's actually nobody talks about the throughput. Yeah. So and I come to that in a second, because productivity you would normally look doing more within the same time frame. Yeah. efficiencies, we talk about a better utilization of resources. So that's typically your input. So you've got input and output. But in betweens, it's kind of call it work in progress or throughput. And that refers back to Mr. Little. He created Little's law. So you have to drive the efficiency from an input perspective. And then you have to look into your work in progress, which the work in progress on the building side, you can observe this on a daily basis, right? So you pass by, nothing is happening. So there's no throughput. And this is a kind of, a problem of structural nature and organizational nature. It's nothing to do with the design or the context the building sits in. This is just how we organize ourselves. So, and once you're able to reduce your process time, then you have got more efficient material use, reduced process time. That's how you get to more output. And I have been listening recently to a gentleman, and I can forward you the name. I have to dig it out. He was presenting Kainga Ora. It's a social housing provider in New Zealand. So they have been observing the delivery methodology of their buildings. So they are a customer. They're kind of building buildings. So they've been saying the observation is very obvious. Time on tools is kind of a fraction of the time we pay. So time on tools is you employ an electrician to put in wires and cables, etc. And you expect that the electrician being on site on the tools for 7.5 hours a day. Yeah? In the old days, it was 8 hours, much easier from a math perspective. So you expect actually 8 hours really kind of, pulling cables, putting all the light switches in, etc., etc. So they've been starting measuring that and say, actually, from these 7.5 hours, we saw probably 50% productive time, and 50% is kind of, the electrician now needs a drill bit to get through somewhere in the wall, and the drill bit needs a specific diameter. So that goes, the tradie goes, or the electrician goes to the ute, goes to a hardware store, buys the drill bit, comes back, and continues to work. Yeah, and they've been saying this happens every single day with every single trade. So what can we do differently? And that's what I meant with process, looking into the whole kind of not only project lifecycle, but the project lifecycle in a level of detail. So what Kainga Ora did, saying, no, we create a bill of materials for every building. We create not only a bill of materials, which is saying you need 526 linear meters of cable, please rock up with this cable. So what these guys in New Zealand now do is not only a bill of materials, but a list of tools required.
Oh, okay.
So they have been providing a list of tools, and they saw an improvement in terms of productivity, but not to their satisfaction. The next step was actually they're supplying now all the materials and all the tools to the building site. And that's it. Significant jump. Time on tools doubled. Productivity doubled. So which means automatically they need half the time to complete the buildings.
Oh, okay.
Plus, as a customer or as a developer and builder, yeah, they said suddenly we are the ones buying the material and supplying it to site. So we have got now buying power because we're not only delivering one site after site, we have got a portfolio of projects. So yes, you've got faster delivery and you save money in procurement. You have to put the resources now back into the developer's perspective, which costs a bit of money, but saying it has paid off. That's a kind of a pathway, not only for traditional building, but it's a pathway for all the other building forms. So traditional building, they're 50% faster. But without changing the design, without kind of, the whole MMC overlay, but just looking into the upfront process and the transparency in the process and scheduling everything accordingly. And in this case, the developer takes on the risk of procurement.